All right, the elemental tale practice or the elemental tale homework generally it is not too difficult. This first 21 problems is especially not very difficult. All right, so 1 through 5, they're simply matching. All right, now you'll notice that in this class, often the matching from the homework is the exact same matching from the test. This class doesn't require a degree in rocket science to pass with a high score. It just requires you to attend, to pay attention, to participate, and to do some basic studying. But in general, I'm hoping that it gives you an opportunity to have a positive experience in science. So these problems aren't super hard. All right, so just matching, so uniform in its composition, we come over here and say, okay, what is uniform in composition, meaning that it all has the same composition. A doesn't make sense, E doesn't make sense, so it's between these three: matter, homogeneous, and heterogeneous. If you remember, we said milk is homogeneous because it is uniform in its composition. So we'll say that's C. We would just carry on down there. Next, these are really hard for kids because they don't like writing anymore. This is defining your own words the following terms. All right, an element. It might be hard to come up with your own words, but if you look in the notes, you'll find my definition, and then hopefully you can use your brain to come up with your definition that means the same thing, but is simply written differently. So they're easy. Now, 9 through 20, I get a lot of questions on, but it is quite simple. List 4 familiar substances that are elements, 4 substances that are compounds, and 4 substances that are mixtures. So an element, you just need to name 4 common elements that you can think of, like oxygen. How about carbon, iron, and then whatever else you can think of. There's, I was about to say millions. There's 111 more of them that you could think of, if I remember right. A compound, if you remember from the notes, a compound is 2 or more elements chemically combined. All right, we're very familiar with these. H2O, that's water. It's a compound because it's 2 types of elements combined, hydrogen and oxygen. Another one that we're used to is CO2. You can think of 2 more possibly, and if you can't, look them up. Just Google compounds and you'll hear or see a list of all sorts of different types of compounds. Now, a mixture can be anything physically mixed. And I mean anything. You can put fruit salad on that list, cookies, milk and cereal, salt and pepper. You can do all sorts of things that you want. Don't just put salt. Salt would actually end up here. I won't tell you what it is if you don't know it. But things, more than one thing, and they're all mixed together by hand, like Jelly Belly, jelly beans, or something. All right, now 21. A substance has been found. Diagram a flow chart that can be used to tell if the substance is an element, a compound, or a mixture. All right, now a flow chart, it's like this. We've drawn a few on the board probably already. We ask a question here, and then we ask either another question here or another question there. Since this has 3 options, I need one of these to also split into 2 boxes. But I have 3 at the end. 1, 2, 3. All right. You can ask questions from the notes on that very first page. We gave you all the characteristics of these 3 element compounds and mixtures. If you look, you should be able to fill in a question like, can it be separated? All right, that would be a great way to start. You might need to be more specific and say, can it be separated chemically or physically? That would get you even farther. So look at that note page. I believe it's 1, 2, or 3 off the top of my head, and you can easily fill that in.